Right. In today we are going to discuss about software engineering architect role in context to the architect role itself is concerned. It's always important for us to understand about architecture role from the software engineering perspective. Because whenever we usually develop any application, whatever the required software engineering practices, procedures, and all everything is what something which we have to be performed. In this regard, it's always important for us to understand about software engineering. Software engineering architecture is essentially important. This is something useful for the people who are working in the field of IT, especially from the technical point of view, because people who are into the technical side, whoever is working on the technical aspect, working on some technology, for them this is majorly useful because there are some couple of roles now and then becoming important in the field of architecture, because of course we may be knowing about enterprise architecture, we know about solution architecture, applications, data, cloud architect, right? So all these roles were known to us. Apart from that, one of the role is called software engineering architect is all known. Now, when it comes to the learning, for example, if the people wants to learn about software engineering architect, these are the outlines one must be knowing. First of all, they must be knowing about the detailed understanding over software architecture, wherein as part of software engineering practices, principles, and all everything is something required. Apart from that, understanding over the software architecture is one of the key and important element which normally one will be learning. Next, building the technical vision, because normally creating a vision for any of the project is what something required. Because if you want to create any kind of roadmap for any product or a project, technical roadmap or a product roadmap or a technical roadmap, so building the technical vision is essentially required. So this is also second. The third about technical strategy. So what kind of strategy is something essentially required? What kind of strategy do we need to implement? So we need to understand about the business strategy. Followed by this, we must be having some knowledge over the technical strategy as well. This is what generally technical strategy come into picture. Next one about enterprise capabilities. What are the different enterprise capabilities do we have? This also one should learn, right? So understanding about enterprise capabilities is also one of the key and important element like scalability, fault tolerance, extensibility or maintainability. All these things will also be learned in this regard. Next, we must be knowing about various architecture principles, whatever the required architecture principles to be understood or followed with. So knowing about architectural principles is also one of the key and important element. Followed by what are the different frameworks we use in context to architecture itself is either it can be TOGAF or it can be Jacksman, right? So it can be Jackman, right? So different frameworks normally we use. So understanding over the frameworks is also needed. Followed by this, understanding about technical and performance architecture will also be required. So these are the outlines one must be knowing. Now, in context to the skills, whatever the kind of skills which is required for a software engineering architect are as follows. One must be knowing about software engineering principles and practices, as I said. Next, understanding and creating technical roadmap is essentially required. Followed by this, we must be knowing about the business situation. Followed by the kind of problems identification. Next, enterprise capabilities, as I stated, like scalability, fault tolerances, etc. Followed by this system stability, right? So knowing about the system stability, behavior of the system, how it is performing, right? So scalability, security, maintainability, sustainability, system stability, right? So load balancing, all these things are also needed. Next, one should understand about software analysis and design. This is where generally understanding about high level and low level design of the project. So in this low level design, whatever the required programming we write, right? So whatever the algorithms are we using, what are the design patterns we use, all these things comes under the low level design part. But this is majorly meant for architect role, as I stated. People are coming from some programming knowledge will be more helpful. I give first preference to that, right? So people having some basic, at least some programming knowledge or programming skills are working as a programming side, irrespective of the programming language they belongs to. If they are working from the development side, will be more helpful so that they will be understood about high level and low level designs well. Of course, here normally I don't teach any coding, nothing, right? So because this is nothing to do with coding context. So that background is always preferable. So that adding that background, this will be highly helpful for any person to perform their career in better. Next, we must be knowing about the design patterns. What are the different design patterns do we have? And singleton design pattern, all that. At the same time, knowing about microservices architecture. Earlier, we used to work on um, monolithic architecture. Now we are working on microservices architecture, understanding about the microservices architecture. It's not only microservices, as in when we are in the development. Nowadays, we are creating an environment and managing the environment called DevOps. So DevOps architecture is also needed. Next, applications will be two. One is on-premise application, second is cloud application. That structure of on-premise, because some customers want you to provide solutions on-premise so that they maintain their own data centers, etc. Some people wants to have cloud services, right? So we need to have the knowledge of that. Next, we need to have a knowledge of our cloud architecture. Either it can be AWS or Azure on a high level note is what something which is the skills which you will be learning as far as software engineering architecture is concerned. One must be good with, one must be learning, right? So this is what something the software engineering architect role is all about. This is highly useful to the people who are already working in the technical side, irrespective of the technology. So whoever is working from the technical side, who wants to pursue their career into the architecture side, one of the architect role which is widely used across industries is called software engineering architect. This is all about this session. If you have any questions, please go ahead.